Collecting has always been a popular hobby, but with the advent of digital collecting, it's become easier than ever to amass a collection. The most popular example is probably collecting music. As long as you have an internet connection and a preferred music streaming service, there are no limits to how many songs or albums you can collect. Nowadays, digital collecting is not only limited to multimedia content like music or video games, it also applies to physical items that are available in digital form. For instance, if you're really into trading cards, there is absolutely no reason why they need to be printed on paper anymore. Modern-day cards are often still packaged in one of these blister packs. They usually come with some swag like a poster or a sticker, but it's all digital. Instead of collecting printed cards that need to be stored in a binder, you can also collect the digital versions, which are hosted on virtual platforms like Steam, Xbox Live Arcade, and PlayStation Network. The most popular example for this is Valve Corporation's online card game Artifact. In its closed beta phase, there were more than 120 different types of cards available. They originally required Valve to print them physically for players who wanted to own them. However, they later decided to release all physical copies they had in stock in one package called Artifact Complete, including a code that unlocks every single in-game item in the form digital cards. Many people don't mind having an incomplete collection, though. For example, the cards in unpublished stories of the past are significantly rarer than any other digital card out there. So collecting them means owning a piece of gaming history. The physical copy is available for $499 on eBay and comes with a certificate of authenticity to prove that it's an actual piece of paper. On top of that, this was not even the first print run. Back in November 2017, only 500 copies were made and they quickly sold out. As such, you can expect to pay over $1,000 for this collector's item, if you can find one at all. People usually use apps like Instagram or Facebook groups to keep track of their physical collectibles. These apps also offer various collecting communities for people who share the same interest. If you also enjoy collecting physical things, but don't like the idea of having to store them somewhere, there are options for you as well. Amazon has launched a service called Amazon Key, which puts your Amazon package deliveries inside your house instead outside in front of your door. For instance, Amazon can unlock your front door with their Amazon Smart Lock right before delivering your items straight into your living room. And if you're too busy collecting items yourself to be home at the time of delivery, no problem. The courier just needs to confirm that someone is home by pressing a button on his or her smartphone and entering an access code. But collecting digital goods isn't limited to games either. There are plenty of other business models out there that offer digital collecting opportunities. For example, the online card game Gwent consists of collectible cards that can be earned by playing the game. But if you want to speed up your collecting process, there are marketplaces out there where you can find cards for real money. And collecting physical goods is not the only way to get rare things in a digital world. Buying virtual goods can also have its benefits. The most well-known example here is probably Cryptokitties, which became an overnight success in 2017. During its peak in December, over 100,000 people were collecting and breeding these digital cats at once. But why would anyone pay hundreds or even thousands of dollars for something that's completely made up? For some people, collecting is just a fun hobby, but for others, collecting digital items is also a way to invest in future technologies. For instance, there are rare cards that were only available during the closed beta phase of Artifact. When they were released back in November 2017, they were going for more than $20. But even though this number might sound ridiculous at first glance, keep in mind that Artifact hasn't been out for very long and it's still a brand new game. It's not unlikely that these prices will rise again once the game starts getting updates on a regular basis. So collecting digital items can be used as an investment too. And people who buy coins or tokens from blockchain-based games like Etherbots or War Riders are often hoping that their investments will pay off one day when these games start to make real money. People collecting things in the digital world also get more freedom than people collecting physical items since they don't have to worry about local laws like copyright restrictions. For example, if somebody is collecting an original Superman comic, he or she has to be careful not to damage it too much. But collecting something on the internet doesn't involve this kind of risks. No matter how many times you click on a digital file, all you're doing is making a copy of it. That being said, there are still some limitations when collecting digital goods. To start with, there's often a limited number of copies available. For example, only 3 million units of the virtual collectible card game Shadow Era were ever released, and there's no way to print more cards now that the publisher has stopped supporting the game. Another problem collecting digital items can have is that they might simply stop working at some point in time. Games are especially likely to break or shut down if their developers run into financial trouble. It happened to Electronic Arts' online collectible card game Plants vs. Zombies Heroes back in May 2018. Since this meant that people lost all access to their digital cards overnight, players demanded compensation for this inconvenience by filing a class action lawsuit against EA. Unfortunately for them, EA didn't even make enough money from the game to cover their costs. But collecting digital items isn't always a bad idea, since there are some examples out there that prove it can be successful. One of them is Clash Royale, which makes almost $1.2 million a day, even though its app doesn't cost anything for users to download and play. Another example can be found in Hearthstone, where players spend a total of about $20 million every month on card packs, which means that over the years, Blizzard has made an incredible amount of money from this single game series alone. So collecting digital items might not be worth it from a strictly economic perspective, but collecting never involved just rational decision-making. It's true that digital collecting hasn't taken off yet in the same way collecting physical items has, but there are several indications that collecting digital goods will become more popular in the future. First of all, collecting is often driven by nostalgia, which means that people collecting old-school Nintendo games probably aren't going to stop anytime soon. And since these games are mostly available digitally nowadays, collecting them digitally isn't such a big problem anymore either. Another factor that can spur digital collecting can be found on Kickstarter, where players finance new games and get access to exclusive digital rewards as a thank you for their donation. For example, Totally Accurate Battle Simulator raised $2.5 million on Kickstarter, and part of this money went towards making special hats only available to Kickstarter backers. Since these hats are seen by some players as collecting items, they can now become harder to get. Finally, it might be possible for collecting digital items to develop into a profession in its own right. This is already happening in the esports scene, where people can make money through streaming or winning competitions. And if somebody is good enough at collecting digital goods, he or she could potentially make even more money by selling their collection on eBay one day. To sum up this video, collecting things has always been popular, but now collecting digital items is also possible. One issue with collecting digital items is that limited copies of them may prevent you from getting these collectibles. But not all hope is lost, since there are some advantages to collecting digital items too. We'll see what the future holds for collecting digital items and how you can help to preserve your favorite digital collectibles. Collecting has always been a popular hobby, but with the advent of digital collecting, it's become easier than ever to amass a collection. There are some issues that collecting digital items brings, and one of these is that limited copies of them may prevent you from getting access to these collectibles.